The day we've all been waiting for is finally here. The new ban list has finally released, and now we know what is going to be happening with the One Piece meta going into OP08 for us. In Japan, this ban list doesn't take effect until OP09, which I believe is September 1st. And that means that it's possible that we may still have to play with the current ban list until the new one comes out, even through 08, kind of like Japan did. A lot of us are really hoping that that isn't the case and that we don't have to go through, you know, RP Law, Black Maria format, and Rob Lucci Jack with stage. I feel like that would be just, I don't know, kind of a waste. Especially considering the fact that a lot of people are still just going to do that anyway. They're still going to run the current meta if it's still allowed, just because they want to win, instead of just playing the meta that normally you would want to play, which is the one that's upcoming. So a lot of us are really hoping that they're going to make this ban list apply for the release of OP08 and up for us, which would be really nice. It'd be really nice to not have to deal with Black Maria and the format kind of like Japan did. But getting onto the changes for RP Law, he is banned. He's just flat out banned. Now, a lot of people kind of thought that Black Maria was going to get hit, and in my opinion, that's not even remotely smart, because the fact that it's a brand new card and the card can still be played in other purple decks. It is a Animal Kingdom pirate, so it makes sense to allow it to be played in Animal Kingdom decks instead of just outright banning the card. Now, the card is still crazy, but the problem is how crazy it is in RP Law, considering the fact that you can -3 every single turn, Black Maria effect every single turn, effectively removing or mitigating your leader abilities effect. Like, it just doesn't have a cost at that point. So that's why the card was so crazy, and actually really didn't even make sense. The fact that you're running Heart Pirates, Kid Pirates, and Animal Kingdom Pirates like in your deck, it just seemed like, I don't know, it didn't really make sense canonically. So what I think is the best option is to actually ban the card like they are doing. But the card is not just getting outright banned, it's also getting errataed. And I believe the new errata effect is that if you remove a character that is 3 cost or 3,000 in attack or higher from your field, you bottom deck it, you can play a Heart Pirate from your hand that is 4 cost or less. So they're kind of going with a weird route in terms of changing or updating this leader. Personally, what I would have done is made it so where it had to bottom deck a card for the effect to happen, and that it also came out rested, which also prevented like any sort of rush shenanigans. I don't know if any Heart Kingdoms have any rush, but they might print some later, and it just feels kind of annoying. You know, they get to bottom deck something and bring out a rush character and swing with it immediately. If it came out rested, it also makes sense considering the fact that Blue Dofi, anything that they get off at the top of their deck is also rested, which is kind of the balance to the card. It gets to swarm, and the fact that it has to come out rested. Yes, they get their own play effects, but the same thing also applies to any of the cards that were previously coming off of RP Law's effect, like Mr. 2. Oh yeah, and he's an impel down, so like in something else, I believe. Either way, the point is Baroque works, I think. The point is that the deck just kind of was like an amalgamation of a bunch of different types. It really just didn't make sense for it to even exist like the way that it did. So leader locking its ability to Heart Pirates actually makes the most sense in my opinion. And next on to Innie's Lobby. Now, this is a card that I talked about over the weekend at my locals with a bunch of people, and along with another card that we'll touch on too. This card actually is incredibly like unhealthy fundamentally. So you pay the cost for 2 Dawn immediately, right, to play the card, and it has its effect on as soon as it's played out. And then every other turn you just get to outright use it with no condition, no cost to it, no nothing, right? So at least with like the German 66 stage, you have to trash a card to search, right? And that search can miss. Actually, it's really rare for that to miss. You would have to hit like triple Porsche for that to miss. But regardless, the fact that it still even can miss means that like there's still some risk to it. This card is zero risk, only reward, and that a leader attacking, so leader ability plus stage is an instant -3 to anything, right? So it's already, just in my opinion, highly overtuned. And then on top of the fact, just like with the RP Law deck, this is a world government card. It is not a CP card. It's not even a Navy card. It's a world government card. So it actually makes no sense for it to just be in this deck just because of its effect. The card is so strong that it only exists in the deck because of how broken it is. And on top of that, you'll notice how much closer games are when they don't see stage, right? So when they don't see stage, the game feels way more winnable, way more manageable. And that's how the game should be. It shouldn't depend on just one stage coming out and the game feels just instantly harder to win. In that one stage, if you see it on turn 1 going second, it's basically like a free card, right? So you play it on 2, there's nothing else you're gonna do that turn unless you're gonna spam them or just play one spam them. But regardless, like playing that on turn 1 when going second, it's just a free play and it just sits there for the rest of the game. And on top of that, there's not like a whole lot of like stage removal in the meta, so it just makes sense to just remove a stage that is so problematic like this, that gains so much value with no cost. There's no cost to the card, and I think that this is well deserved. It doesn't, in my opinion, belong in that deck. If it was like leader locked to world government cards, or I mean, I guess you could even say Navy, but not necessarily. If it was some form of type locked, then I would understand it existing, but the fact that it can just exist in a deck doesn't make any sense to me. So I definitely agree with these 2 changes. I actually would have liked a few more changes. Personally, I wish Gecko Moria was leader locked. Now, I know the card came out in 06 and we're going into 08, so it's still kind of new. Regardless, the card is still, in my opinion, just too overtuned. So Lucci is still going to be able to play the card, and Lucci is still going to be able to go on turn 8, on 8 dawn, play out Gecko Moria, get Rebecca, get Spandam, search with Spandam, search with Rebecca, play out the Spandine that you just got, Spandine effect, grab Rob Lucci, play Rob Lucci, bottom deck 6 cards, and pop two things on the field while establishing a 9k, a blocker, a 6k, and I believe like a 2k. And if you don't even, and while searching off of Spandam, right? And this is assuming that you don't need to get the Helmeppo. If you need to get the Helmeppo, sure. But if you don't need to get the Helmeppo, you've just also got a search off of that too. And if you already have Spandine in your head, you get 2 searches. You get to search off the top of your deck for Spandine, or for Spandam, and then you get to search for probably likely a 2k off of Rebecca, and then just play the Spandine from your hand with Rebecca's effect. So not having to search those cards, not having to grab the Spandine from trash is like incredibly strong, considering the fact that you get 2 searches if you don't need Helmeppo. And even if you do need Helmeppo, you still get to instantly grab a guaranteed 2k instead of, you know, risking it with the Spandam. That combo in itself is just way too strong. As someone who even played the deck, I put it away just because of the fact that I didn't like the fact that, you know, if I milled my geckos and they didn't mill their geckos, it just felt like a way harder game to win. If they saw stage, I didn't see stage, it just felt like a way harder game to win. So I kind of wanted to play a deck that didn't lose to itself as much. So I've been playing like Perona and Blue Dofi. But my point in saying that is that I feel like in a deck like Rob Lucci, that it just has too much toolbox, too much utility to do what it's doing. Tempest Kick in itself is already pretty insane. I'm not saying even remotely touch that card because it's warranted for being as good as it is. But that while having stage is kind of my point, right? Because you get to go 2 + 3 is 5, and then plus swing is 6. So you can KO any 8k with just a Tempest Kick alone while you have stage out. And that is what makes like stage just incredibly powerful and allows you to reach even further. And then if you do have the gecko, that's 6, then you can get 3 more, so you can go up to -9 reduction, meaning that you can take out a 7 cost and a 3 cost. You can take out what is that? An 8 cost. An 8 cost and a 4 cost with that. You can take out an 8 cost and a 4 cost with Tempest Kick alone while having stage. An 8 cost and 4 cost. That's what makes stage incredibly overtuned while also not having any cost. If you had to trash a card for it, then I think maybe the card would be a little bit more balanced, but they're likely not going to do that. But yeah, Gecko Moria in itself just makes like that deck way too crazy. And I think that it probably should have been leader locked, considering the fact that you could still play the Gecko Moria leader and you could also play Perona, the green black Perona. And I think that is fair, considering the fact that Perona in herself is a Thriller Bark pirate. She is currently in the anime trying to rescue Gecko Moria. Like, I don't know. It just makes more sense for me to have that card leader locked, concerning on what it does. The problem is, where I understand the issue, is that you're killing a lot of other black decks by doing this, and other future potential black decks. Now, I do think at one point it is going to get leader locked, honestly, but them doing the reprint kind of makes me wonder when that's going to happen, or if it's even still going to need to happen later on. Maybe other decks are just going to be better and you won't need to do it, but with this being reprinted with its original text already, then it's highly unlikely that that's going to happen, because I think that set comes out in November ish, right? So we would already have to wait until then, and then even then there's really no point in then errating the card another time after reprinting it. So hopefully that at that point in time the other decks are going to be so much better that it doesn't really matter if they play Gecko. I just feel like in Gecko Moria, like in the Gecko Moria deck, when you're playing Gecko, yeah, you're spamming Geckos out because of Hogback, but like even then, like most times you're usually grabbing like a Rebecca, or you're getting like an Absalom, and you're getting like a brand new, or I mean, maybe I've seen people go for Sindri sometimes, or you're getting like a Helmeppo into Absalom, or you can go, you know, you guys understand. The point is that like it doesn't feel like it does in Lucci. So like Gecko Moria just feels like way too strong in Lucci itself. But with that being said, Lucci is an OP07 leader, so I understand not leader locking it because the deck just came out, and it doesn't seem like Bandai is wanting to ban deck types that just come out. They want them to still consider or to continue to see play, because the deck just came out, right? So you want that set, even though another set's coming out, you still want OP07 to have some sort of value, because you can still use the OP07 leader Rob Lucci. So with that respect, I understand it, but I still would have liked to have seen it get touched in some sort of way, even if it was just limited to 2. I don't think putting it to 1 makes sense. 3 maybe, but I think 2 is most optimal, is the most fair, because if you don't see 1, maybe you see the second one, and at least that helps. But if you see 2 while having 3, like it still just feels like oppressive. Like even just playing 2 in itself is already like oppressive enough, because you're getting to do it twice, even if you manage to clear 1. But I guess we'll just wait and see what happens with the meta. What I do know is that with RP Law getting touched, that is going to open the doors up for a lot of other decks. I believe even Vegapunk. Like Vegapunk wasn't very good because RP Law could just like bottom deck all of their stuff. And Reiju. Like Reiju wasn't great because RP Law could manipulate their Dawn better than the Reiju can, because they have a leader ability that just allows them to do it. So they could always stay under the Dawn count for their cards to gain their effects, like from the 4-cost Reiju and from Chopper and other cards that require you to have a certain Dawn threshold under the opponent. It makes sense that that deck wouldn't be as good. Even then, it still manages to get some tops here and there, while having RP Law exist. So that deck, along with a few other decks, like Red Green Law is going to be no, because Lucci will still exist, even though it won't have stage doesn't really hurt that deck as much. It's possible that it might be better, but even then RP Law can still just bottom deck their cards too, so that does kind of hurt the deck. while seeing that. I personally, my next card that I wish that they also would have hit though would have been 4-cost Lucci. Now this might be a little controversial, but I have seen other people on Twitter talking about this as well. But no pun intended with the controversial thing, by the way. But with that being said, if you look at cards like Ryuma, right? So Ryuma is a 4-cost 6-drop, just like Lucci is. He also KOs cards on play, just like Lucci does. Here's the difference though. Not only does the card have to be rested, right? So I have to use my leader ability 9 times out of 10, unless the card is already rested, to KO something, right? I only get to KO one thing ever, right? Most of the time, by the time Ryuma comes out, or if they kill it, there's nothing on board for it to die, because anything 5 cost or higher can swing into it perfectly fine. And even if it's probably if it's KOing something, it's probably something like some sort of 1 cost or 2 cost that doesn't really matter most of the time. So he comes out, he has the same exact stat line. The card needs to be rested, and it has to be 4 costs or less, which sure, that's fine. But the difference is that it's in like a archetype where it can't just like on demand reduce something's cost like near as effectively as the Lucci deck can, right? So when Lucci comes out, not only is he again 4 cost 6k just like Ryuma, but he guarantees hits 2 cards. He hits 2 cards and it doesn't matter on their position. Mine matters on their position and only hits 1 card, which doesn't make any sense. Sure, Lucci has to reach a little bit further, but as I explained earlier, with 1 Tempest kick, if you already have stage out, you get 3 for Tempest, 1 for leader, and if you Gecko, which is a lot of times what's gonna happen, if you Gecko and you get Helmeppo, then you go to 7. You go to 7 cost reduction that you're able to use, which again, as I already displayed, you can hit like a 7 and a 4 cost with that, which is crazy. Like that's just too much for them to be able to do something, right? Did I even do that math right? 2 for stage, 1 for leader, 3 for Tempest kick. Oh no, I'm sorry, you can hit an 8. I think that's what I said earlier, because then you can hit, yeah, so you can hit crazy high numbers when you have just a Tempest kick and the stage out. It's not really even comparable to say that Ryuma should be able to do only just 1, while Lucci has the ability to hit 2. And it's odd. I understand that, yeah, Ryuma can hit something when it's KO'd, but a lot of times at that point in time, it doesn't matter, right? Gecko Morias can just swing into it, right? So if they play Gecko and they get their Lucci out, right? If Lucci comes out off of just Gecko raw and Ryuma has already been reduced, it's just popping it for free. So it doesn't even matter at that point. But regardless, I would love to see them touch that card, or even Rebecca. Rebecca just seems incredibly overtuned at this point in time. I would love to see Lucci, Rebecca, and Gecko Moria receive some sort of changes to them. Other than that, I do agree with the ban list. I think the ban list is overall completely fine, and honestly what we needed. RP Law had to go, and in my opinion, Stage did also have to go. But let me know what you guys think, and if you guys want to see more One Piece content like this, please consider leaving a like, and if you want to come back for more, if you could drop a follow as well, that would mean the world. But anyway, love you guys, and you guys have a wonderful week.